who separate who we sent on a different task and whether or not they have different tasks than what we have. Or what you all have. There were 3 out of the 19 that survived. And they're with us then. So I think that answers your question. In other words, in my mind, they had the opportunity to stay on the task. They did have different tasks at first.
For a period.
For a period of time.
But not a different, they didn't have different teachers. No. And they didn't have, they weren't getting directions from a spacecraft for a different task, if that's what you think.
In other words, their task was to do exactly what they had been given instructions to do. And eventually they would be led back to it.
That's right. I don't know if you remember, but when we sent those out, we told them that there was a strong likelihood that before we leave, we would see them again. And of course, we always talked to the survivors. We always talked to those who were going to have strong enough will to see their vehicle through the task. Do you follow what I'm saying?
Does that answer your question?
No.
Unfortunately, you need somebody to bring your mind in. And you can't do it. You don't have enough strength of mind to really do it on your own. It's just impossible to do it on your own.
I wonder if sometimes the ones that are in the network with, if they...
Say again?
The ones that we're connected with our strain and the ones these if they ever draw from us differently than just receiving what we send out. You know what I mean? I'm not even sure what...
Well, you send out, everything that you do sends out. I mean, the way you wash your hands, the way you go to the bathroom, you send out. Every aspect of your conduct, you send out.
I don't think they can draw from you.
I was thinking, like, if they
take energy from you or
started looking for a particular answer, if that would bring it in more directly to them.
I don't think it happens that way. I think this comes from what is salvaged from the next level. But like Bill said, you send out to them if they want to know a new method of washing their hands or a better way to act, then they can draw upon the information that you send out, but it wouldn't take any energy from you, if that's what you're thinking. I don't think so.
No, I wonder if you were paralleling that with the fact that sometimes what you all work with on your vehicle is felt by Link, and you wondered if what they work on is felt by you, only in the sense that we have told you that sometimes when you're working on something, that it might be because the world at that time is working on it. In that sense, even though we don't like to think of it in terms of drawing.
That is the drawing. That's it.
In my mind, the way I understand it so far, it was separate from what I was asking.
Okay.
The drawing is taken away from you. And what you get from a human is more like being overpowered by it.
Right. Now, you can't really blame, you don't really anymore know when, in other words, you can't blame your vehicle on that particular instance of difficulty that you're dealing with it. You don't know that that vehicle is the source. And more than likely, it isn't the source. But you really don't have the right to treat the vehicle as if the vehicle were the source of that particular instance that you're working on. Do you understand? Do you all understand that?
I also wondered about the ones that weren't, I don't know how to ask this really, but a lot of times I think about how their vehicles were picked. And sometimes I wonder, when you know, brought up about the
there's anything to that situation, that maybe some of those vehicles, maybe they weren't assigned to remember the next level. Well, we don't know, looking back, way back when they were sent out. We know that the ones that were picked to send out were picked more or less by, I would say, not by us, but by instructions that were given to us. Okay? We gathered data from you all, the ones who were working with us. We submitted it to the next level, and the next level more or less picked the ones that I feel like, and I don't know if Bill feels this, but I think he does, I feel like they were given a task because this is an experimental thing that we're doing. In other words, every time something like this happens, it's an experiment. And whether or not it will be 100% effective, or if it will be 100% safe, it doesn't really matter. It's going to happen anyway, but they're trying that this is the procedure that has worked in the past. Now, I think they wanted, and this again is just supposition on my part, I think that they wanted to see how strong some individuals could stay without being in close contact with teachers. Okay? And the strong one, it was
well, the only thing I wanted to add to that was, and I may be completely wrong on this too, but it seems to me, and this is, I know in a sense this is judging, and therefore I'm saying that this may not be the reason at all, but it might be that those who were sent out were struggling with not being able to take the schoolroom situation seriously enough, consistently enough, and the experience that they went through in separating from us forced them to, if they really wanted what we were after, to want it more desperately and to become more serious about it. And it was just a method, or could have been just a method of making that effort apply more strong, getting with it more seriously instead of taking it casually. There was a period there where we just weren't getting, T and I were aware we weren't getting it's like you stay in registration too long when the class needs to begin. And you've got to get past orientation and registration, and yet if some of those who have registered are still just off to all indications, not really, don't have their books and pen in hand and ready to sit down in the classroom and be quiet and give 100% attention, then they need to have something to assist them in that way. That doesn't mean that they were any, overall, any worse. It just might have meant this characteristic, this particular characteristic, had to be strengthened in those. And I think when you realize the effort that those three that are back in the class, that it took for them to remain as serious as they could remain during the time they're being separated from us, plus the difficulty that it took them to go through when they rejoined us, that was really something that caused their roots to be forced to really get down into the soil. Do you know what we're saying? And I don't think they would be bothered by my saying this on tape. And I repeat, this may be all wrong. I don't know.
All we can do is just do what we're instructed to do, and this is what you have to do if you're getting a tax like this. We can go over all the things in our mind of what it could be or what it couldn't be. And 9 times out of 10, we're not right. But at least we can think about it. There's no harm in that. And we might find that everything we've done so far may be 50% wrong. But if we're accomplishing what we're here to do, then at least we're doing something. We're not wasting our time. And it really doesn't matter.
It doesn't matter whether the information is adequate or accurate.
Because we know what we're doing is right.
Yeah.
Or we wouldn't be here. We'd be leaving. So we're making some headway because we can see it. It isn't a coincidence. It's too big of a coincidence for things to be happening that are happening now. And with the ideas, with the instructions that we have, and we see it happening and the change and everything, it's just, it has to be right. It can't be a coincidence. So, but the thing is, the 19, all you can do is trust that whatever happens, happens, and the best thing happens for them and for you and for everybody. Because it wasn't something like we didn't pick out so many of them and say, you're all got to leave. We can't keep just so many in the class. That wasn't the reason we handed it off. And
it's only the letter had the letter and that's the one who would carry on the information after we left.
No, that wouldn't have been a task. That's the way the next level takes advantage of something that didn't work to their best advantage. Like if some of your classmates who were supposed to be sitting right here with you, the next level would take advantage of the fact that their vehicles were left, is to have those vehicles used to help get this information out.
But I think it would be mostly the ones who were with us longer, because at 19 were not with us as long as some of the others that dropped away. I think there's one.
Probably so, but they still might be. Even some of those might be that when they hear of the exit, that they would respond in a way to want to spend the rest of their lives trying to get this information out.
And remember, if they had a mind in there, if they were next level minds, and their minds were both vehicles not meant to go.
The mind has to return. It doesn't get left behind. And we still have a grade on the paper for this task of how whether or not it's accomplished.
They probably will have the feel less bad about not accomplishing it because of the task that they were given. You see what I'm saying? Because they didn't have the opportunity that some of the others had.
You're talking about those that were in verse 19?
The 19 years.
Yes.
In other words, they were kind of pushed out of the nest. And even though they didn't stick with it, they may not have expected this.
Their minds would get a better grade.
They would get a better grade in their minds.
Mm-hmm.
And this again is just logic on those.
Than those that who had the opportunity to stay in the class and weaken so as to let the vehicle. You know, you could almost, I don't know if you all remember any time that someone dropped out, but you could almost, T and I were talking about this today, I don't know what she said about it. Do you think it's okay? The moment that you could recognize almost their next level mind receding from their vehicle. I mean, you could see that the vehicle was losing the consciousness of what it had to do. And the vehicle doesn't care whether it lied or what it did. It was determined to go find its place back in the world.
And sometimes it's felt almost happy.
And the vehicle felt relieved and no longer had a sense I mean, didn't have an ounce of obligation to us or you all anymore or anything. It was almost a relief because they would think, the vehicle would think, relieved because they had made up their mind to do something that they had been peace-on about. But it was really the relief that the vehicle saw after the mind stopped giving it a hard time. Because you're, let's face it, as long as you're here, you're giving your vehicles a hard time. Now, we're trying to help you now look a little differently towards your vehicle because you can hurt the vehicle if you scold it too much. It's just like the illustration we always use of training the dog or training the horse, and if the trainer scolds it constantly, and when it does good, it ignores it, and when it does bad, it scolds it, that poor vehicle becomes weakened and susceptible to even quicker deterioration of its energies and its health and everything else. So to get the best function from your vehicle, whatever the best is of what's remaining after it's had to go through what you put it through, you want to be as understanding of the vehicle as you can be without giving in to it, but knowing that in a sense that it has permitted you to do what you want to do, and that it really, now with this new understanding that we have, it really doesn't have it's not going to be a total loss for it, because the vehicle has the capacity to reason the value that it will reap, in the same way that humans can reason that they build this estate to pass on to their heirs. You see, they work their knuckles to the bone, they say, and they don't really care what they go through as long as I can leave this for my own. And your vehicle can really register some value of its own through the reasoning of what it is doing for the world, through its strain and for all those others that are tuned into the particular characteristics that vehicle has to deal with. Now, I want to tell you something key, really. We're not getting too late. This changes my perspective, and I think it's timely for me to change my perspective with my vehicle. And it may help you to change your perspective with your vehicle. Because, in a sense, I have always thought of that the only difficulty I had was the difficulty that my vehicle was giving me. You follow that? Well, that's pretty debilitating. That's pretty discouraging to the vehicle. When actually, it's me who's causing the vehicle the difficulty. It is my next level mind who is causing the vehicle not to get any of the things that it has been programmed to rightfully receive. I mean, it's been programmed for generations to rightfully receive a whole list of things. And I am the one that is preventing it. And most of those things, it hardly has the strength to get up its little old voice now and then and keep sending signals out about those characteristics. And when it speaks now is usually when you all are dealing with what you're dealing with, because what the world is dealing with, you're dealing with it, and therefore it comes to us. But just to be kind to the living flesh and spirit that I am occupying, which has, in a sense, a mind of its own, because the mind is made up of the living force that's in those genes, right? And it would help me get more cooperation from my vehicle if I am more understanding of it. And if I thank it more when it does not interfere, or when its function is an okay function for me. Because if all it ever hears from me is criticism, and gets slapped down constantly, then how can I expect it to do anything more than cause me more difficulty than is necessary? So one way I should look at it is that I am the one. My next level mind is the one causing all this difficulty for the vehicle. In a sense. Do you understand that? And there's nothing wrong with that, with understanding it. That doesn't mean I'm going to let the vehicle do what it has been programmed that it would like to do. But I'm going to understand it. It's just like that horse trainer. If he has a horse that he's working with, if he understands the thinking of the horse, and also understands that he can't expect excellent performance out of the horse if all he does is browbeat it. And you can't just take your vehicle for granted, except when it is trying to do something that is an interference for you, and then slap it down. You shouldn't take it that much for granted. And it's helping me examine a completely different approach with my vehicle. I think it's high time, or it's timely for us all to think that way. You should be mature enough now to think that way without it boomeranging on you. Do you understand that?
It's just like if you begin to have, let's use your impatience. Let's say you're beginning to feel impatient, or your vehicle's beginning to feel impatient. Then you can very easily say, your next level mind can come in and say, no. Just flat, no. They're not going to respond in that way. They're not going to have a feeling of impatience. In other words, you're trying to teach it not to have that kind of feeling.
And it doesn't even have to be no because I say no. You know, like a parent says no, and they say, well, why? Because I said no. No, you're saying no because you also have fed into it that you probably wouldn't be feeling that if it wasn't because you're deficient in this or deficient in that. You see what we're saying? Or your chemistry's off in this, or your chemistry's off in that. And that begins to give understanding and reason to it.
If you're feeling a sensuality of some sort, it's flat no. You can't feel that. You can no longer feel that way. So stop it.
But even that is a weakness. It's an undeveloped area. Now, wouldn't you call that a weakness? In other words, if I'm in a classroom...
It may not stop right away.
What's that?
It may not work right away, but over
No, but yes. Whether it does or not, you still do it. Right. You still have the task of doing it, whether it works or not. But if you can realize ultimately it's because of undevelopment. All these areas that we talk about as primitive responses are deficiencies because of undeveloped society. I don't mean society, I'm talking about civilization. The whole civilization.
If you take
and they'll get past it. The genes that go with the strain of this vehicle will one day realize that all the things that gave it difficulty will be passé. Those will be uncivilized responses. Just as there are a whole group of things that this vehicle would look at, even if the next level mind had never come into this vehicle, there's a whole area of conduct that the vehicle would look at as uncivilized. Well, all of the things that are causing discipline for your next level mind are also on a list that genetically, one day, it will look at as uncivilized. because it's just undeveloped in those areas. It hasn't received enough good nutrition. It hasn't received enough knowledge. It hasn't germinated long enough. You're here planting seeds for improvement, just like fertilizer.
Well, it's the encyclopedia is uncivilized way. That's why in other words, you're here to say no to these ways.
That's right.
We want them to outgrow these primitive ways.
That's right, because the program doesn't stop automatically. The program, even if you give it the nutrition that it needs, that is even causing the deficiency, the program doesn't stop automatically. That's the reason why what you send out is so important, because they have to stop the program. How many times have we said that people go ahead with an ailment after the cure has taken effect, but they, for some reason or other, didn't want to let go of it. They were so programmed to believe it. And they actually believed it was still there until some faith healer came out and touched them on the head. And it was such a traumatic experience for them that they lost that memory of that illness. Now, had they accepted that programming that faith healer gave to them by saying, you're well, you can walk, or whatever it was, had they accepted that program way back at the time that the deficiency had been counteracted, that would have been the time they could walk. But they don't like to accept it for some reason or other, attention they're getting or whatever it was. And this isn't conscious. This is subconscious. But that's the reason, and your programming goes into the subconscious as well as the conscious.
Well, one day the deficiencies will have a different reaction. Do you follow what I'm saying? In other words, the deficiencies now show up in a lower,
that's right,
uncivilized way, and later on, the same deficiency will have a different set of
manifestation. That's right.
But we're trying to get them out of this first step of uncivilized ways.
Well, maybe not first. Maybe Moses.
Well, I think it's been going on for ages, so it's the same word. They haven't gotten rid of all of these. The Hindus have been talking about you got to give up love, hate, sex, greed. What are those? Do you know what I'm talking about?
5 things.
All of those things, and all they've done is talk about it. But now we're here to see to it that they really get beyond it. And it is
pride.
Pride. It isn't. It's a big task because you're trying to stop it. You're trying to stop that ball from going in that direction and getting a whole new trend started. But it isn't going to happen overnight, like we told you. It might take a couple of thousand years to get to where it will be a whole new way. Maybe not that long. Maybe 1,000 years. But
we're trying to be optimistic.
But the thing of it is, we're seeing characteristics of change right now, but it still won't show up in the vehicle until more in the overall picture until later on into the genes. It's just now being accepted as far as action. Because they're picking up on it and they're doing it, but it isn't coming from the genes. You follow what I'm saying? So now it's being put into the genes, and it may take several generations before it might begin to show up in the genes. But I think it's very interesting to watch how it's happening.